Thank you, Amy. Good morning, everyone. As Amy mentioned, and Maggie before her, we'll be talking about reporting residential measures and income qualified repair costs, changes that went into effect yesterday. Holy cow, yesterday, we're in October. Next slide, please. Uh, as you heard, I will be presenting along with Amy. And as it's been mentioned now a few times, we will be reporting on two separate documents, and we will be providing opportunities for people to ask, or we will respond to questions in the chat after each one. Next slide, please. Okay, one thing we wanted to bring up very quickly, this presentation on the changes that are going into effect yesterday, the new reporting requirements for costs, those were made and presented to you all 6 months ago. The recently presented findings from the audit that Mr. Moody provided to you all on the 25th may seem like they're related, and they are in the sense that they will affect how we do things starting in April, but they really were not known about when we initiated the changes for October 1st. So there might be some questions between the two different changes, and there will be two sets of changes being made. Please know that we're only talking about the changes that go into effect October 1st. We're not going to be discussing anything that goes into effect or changes come April 1st of next year. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, so we have two different guidance documents. Both are going to be found in the BPA document library. The URL is right there for you. You will find the guidance for reporting residential costs in BEETS, the document I'll be talking about first today, in the residential sector. And then you'll find the repair cost reference table, which Amy will be talking about shortly, in the income qualified section. Next slide, please. Guidance for reporting residential costs and BEETS. This is an actual representation of that document itself, and I'm gonna be going through sections of it one by one. Next slide, please. Thank you. All right, so the purpose of requiring installed cost into residential measures was really to or the purpose of this presentation was to clarify those cost-related terms that we have in the IM, and then how you're going to be reporting those costs for different measures into BEETS. Next slide. The policy change to do this went into effect yesterday, as I mentioned. The reason it says policy change is effective and not effective October 1st is because right now, as some of you that have tried to log into BEETS know, BEETS is not available for the next couple of weeks. So once BEETS is available, this change will be in effect. Next slide, please. So within the residential section of the implementation manual, section 11, there are three different cost terms that we are going to be discussing today. The first one is installed cost. That's the one I'll be discussing. And then the income qualified measure cost and the income qualified repair cost will be discussed by Amy in just a little bit. Installed cost. So the first thing is, what is installed cost, or why do we want this data? Well, this data is going to help us better understand current market conditions and really help us improve the design of incentive structures. The better idea we have for the reality your customers are facing in the field and the costs for the measures they want to implement, the better we have a chance to provide you all the means to better support them in their activity. So installed costs include a few things. First of all, they include, and I'll separate these out in time, the actual or the estimated cost of equipment for measure implementation. That looks like it's been doubled up. Those first two, that's okay. So they do include the actual, the estimated cost of installation for, measure implementation. I see the difference there. That's excellent. So they can include both the cost of equipment and implementation, or just the equipment. It does not include the cost of repairs completed to support the installation for the measure. That's an important distinction. Next slide, please. So as we mentioned, effective yesterday, all BPA residential measures except income qualified measures. So these are all residential measures in that section 11 that we're talking about, except for the income qualified measures, will require a dollar value to be entered in the installed field of BEETS. Excuse me. So we are going to walk you through where this goes, how you include it, and what this entails. We will be focusing specifically on columns R and U of the UES measure upload template. That's the installed cost field, which is required, and then the wildcard field, which I'll talk a little bit about in a minute. Next slide, please. So just highlighting these two columns for you. This is the BEETS UES upload template. Column R, as you see, is for installed cost. That takes a dollar value. And then column U, which is the wildcard field, is a text field. That text field, as was mentioned in the previous slide, has a 200-character limit. And I will be talking about not only what you can put in that field, but how that may interact with other information you already use that field for. Next slide, please. So we do recognize that it may be harder or easier to get actual or estimated cost data for some measures. We absolutely understand that. One of the ways we are looking to get around this is if the actual or estimated installed cost is simply not available, as is the case for, as you can see, these new construction measures below, which are often challenging to get dollar values for, you may enter a value of 0. Now, specifically, we're providing this right now for the new construction measures you see before you, section 11.7, effectively, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then also all income qualified measures. We're going to skip that part again. Amy's going to discuss that in more detail shortly. I'm going to pass the mic over to Amy. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. So I'm going to speak to reporting just income qualified projects specifically. So I want to call out that from our perspective, and I hope this is not naive, and I do hope that this is your experience as well, we are not making any massive fundamental changes into how income qualified measures are reported or how those fields function. So part of this is giving some nuance about how they're reported because we're requiring 2 new fields as of October 1st, as well as clarifying how those fields already function. So just wanted to call that out. So effective October 1st, we are requiring the income qualified measure cost field. This is a field that's always been available if you are reporting income qualified measure costs, but we have not ever required it. It's always been optional. So we are requiring that as of October 1st. This field is where your income qualified payment cost caps are applied. So if you, in the past, if you haven't entered anything into this field, but you have an income qualified measure, it would default to the full payment cost cap. But we are asking for some sort of cost to be entered into this field as of this year. So also calling out that costs in this field will factor into the calculation for the repair cost cap. And I'll go into a little bit more detail on that in a minute. And the installed cost field, which is what Jonathan has been talking about in the previous slides, is not a required field for income qualified measures. And I will repeat that ad nauseum in the coming slides. So that's very, very clear. So reporting income qualified repair costs, again, this is a field that we've had, but we've never required it be populated. So since October 1st, so yesterday, we are requiring that something be entered into that field. So if you have no repair costs to claim, you can just enter $0. That is absolutely fine. We do want to call out that repair costs do have to be listed separately on the contractor invoice and as such reported separately within BEETS. So for all measures that allow repairs, since there are a few that don't allow repairs, repair costs will be reimbursed within the repair cost policy. And that new policy, which we have gone over hopefully clearly, but always happy to go into more detail if needed, is that for related income qualified repair costs, those will be capped at 300% of the reported income qualified measure cost for projects with a measure cost of $1,000 or higher. So just repeating all of that, so it's hopefully crystal clear. So for the income qualified measure cost, we have three fields that we deal with income qualified measures: measure cost, repair cost, and then the installed cost field. Measure cost, repair cost, both of those fields are required. Install cost for income qualified measures are optional. So for measure cost, it does have to be populated. It is a different field than the install cost field. So this is column N on the upload template. This is where the payment cost caps are applied. If you don't want the full payment cost cap amount, don't report the full amount here. So for instance, if you are claiming a ductless heat pump and you don't want up to that full $6,000 reimbursement, this is where you can enter in $5,000 or $4,000, however much you want for your EEI reimbursement. If, in fact, you do want the full up to the full payment cost cap, if you enter in $10,000 for a ductless heat pump, you will only be reimbursed for that $6,000. So that is how that functions currently. Just wanted to make clear that that's how that's built in at the moment. Some measures are reimbursed 100%, so that does include insulation. So note again, if you don't want the full reimbursement, just be careful how much you report in this field. And the repair cost policy is based on this field. And I'll go into that in a little bit again here in a second. So the repair costs, again, this field is now required. If you don't have any repairs to claim, either there were no repairs as a result of this installation, or you don't want to get reimbursed for any repairs, you would just enter in $0 here. And this is where, again, the new repair cost cap policy applies for measures of $1,000 or more. The repairs would be reimbursed at 300% of that measure cost. Now, just to clarify again, for the install cost field for income qualified measures, this is optional. So it's purely informational. If you want to add in an installation cost that includes additional costs, or let's say for that ductless heat pump that you didn't want the full reimbursement for, you can enter in what the full cost was in this field. Again, just informational if you want to add that additional detail. And just clarifying again here for the UES upload template. So the program was originally called low income, and the upload template will be updated to list income qualified. So just clarifying that here again, measure costs required, repair costs required field, installed optional. And with that, I will pass it back over to Jonathan to go over some of our FAQs on these clarifications.
Thank you, Amy. So we do have a few questions to start this off. I see that some questions are already starting to populate in the chat. Thank you very much. If you do have questions, again, please feel free to put them in the chat, or you can also raise your virtual hand. So the first question we received, does sales tax need to be included? Not needed to be included, sorry for that. No, it does not need to be in the invoice. However, if tax is on the invoice, feel free to include it. If it's not on the invoice or you don't have tax, as is the case in Oregon, you do not need to include it. Do rebates, military senior discounts, etc., need to be added to the total? No, they do not need to be added to the total. The focus of the installed cost, or the goal of the installed cost, is to get as accurate a cost as possible with the least amount of administrative burden on you all. So these smaller pieces that can be part of the total installed cost, such as rebates, again, if they're included on the invoice, yes, please feel free to add them. If they're not, you do not need to do any additional math. Do discounts and sales need to be included in the equipment or installed costs for EV chargers and smart thermostats? Again, no. Include the total amount on the invoice. No need to add additional discounts. Again, if you would like to, you are more than welcome to, but we are not requiring that. For EV chargers or smart thermostats, installation information is often not included. Should the reported installed cost just be what the customer paid? Yes, it absolutely should be what they paid. Any additional costs that were provided or charged outside of that invoice that will be provided or you will keep in your customer file, you do not need to include it, but you may if you choose to. Next slide, please. For the retail ref knows, can utilities just enter zero? So we're talking about the retail distribution channel. It's basically the retail costs are at a retail and the purchase price is often unknown and will need an estimate. Great question. Okay, so can you just enter zero if you do not actually have a cost? Yes, you may absolutely do that. If no invoice is available, you may enter zero. If, however, you believe you have a good estimate for that piece of equipment, you may enter that value as well. I'm going to get to where you can clarify the differences between the costs entered in the manual. If a contractor includes multiple projects, for example, attic insulation, crawl space insulation, attic air sealing, or crawl space air sealing, as one total on the invoice, for example, $8,000, how should this be divided? Another great question. We are very well aware that many of your customers' projects do include multiple measures. So an educated guess or an estimate is fine. Additional information in the wildcard field in BEETS upload template would be appreciated. So that wildcard column on the BEETS template, that is a place you are not required to, you can add a little information. For example, this was an estimated cost. This cost only includes equipment. This is a cost that has some installation included within it. Those are all things you may add. Now, one thing I do want to make sure everyone is aware of is that that field on the BEETS template has a 200 character limit. And I mention that not because we expect large text inputs into the field, but because we know that some utilities use that field for their own accounting or just documentation purposes. So again, using this field to help explain what is in the installed cost is completely optional on your part. Oh, we have some high income qualified measure cost questions. You want to cover those?
Yes. Sorry, I was looking at the chat. So just one question that we often get is what is included in the income qualified measure cost? And as per the IM, it can include any cost that's incurred for meeting requirements and specs. So that includes a number of things. So equipment, that could also be labor, that could also be verification of income. So if you have staff doing intake, verifying income, that can be included. Attic and crawl space ventilation, so requirements that are a required part of the install. Removal of knob and tube wiring, and any sort of underfloor moisture barriers. So it's pretty broad. If you do have any questions about what should be included in the measure costs, you can always reach out to us for clarification. And then we also get a lot of questions, of course, about, well, what's a repair cost? So we created a reference table, which I'm going to be going over here in a second, to hopefully give a little bit more transparency to what is considered a repair cost versus an installation cost. So I'll be going over that in a second.
Okay, installed cost guidance document. So what we are showing you here is the second page. There are 2 pages, one sheet of paper, 2 virtual sides of this installed cost document. And what we will be doing is we will be taking all of the questions that we received today, have received in the past, and questions we receive in the future, and we'll be adding them to this document. And we do that because we want to make sure everyone has the advantage of hearing the answer to a good question that somebody else may come up with in the future. We strongly encourage you to take a look at this FAQ. If you do have a question, If you're unable to find the answer in this document or in the FAQ section, you are, of course, welcome to reach out to your ear.
All right, so I'm going to switch gears a little bit and go over another guidance document that we created to help provide a little bit more clarity into repair costs. It's often it's been undefined generally, and there are always questions that come up of what is a repair cost, what's not, what's an install cost, what's not. And so we came up with this guidance document to help clarify that a little bit. So we're really hoping that that does that for you. So the purpose of this is, of course, to clarify what those income qualified related repair costs are, what should be included as an installation cost, or also what is not eligible for reimbursement. So just to also call out that income qualified repair costs must be directly associated with the installation of that measure, either for health or safety reasons or to ensure the measure's long-term effectiveness. So this is our policy laid out in the IM currently. When we are asked by utility or implementer, we can determine what repairs are eligible based on this policy. It's often not always 100% clear, so it sometimes ends up being a bit of an iterative conversation. But really, at your discretion, it's up to you how much EEI you want to spend to cover those eligible repair and measure costs.
Up to the cap.
Sorry?
Got it, up to the cap, their discretion.
Or ones without a cap.
Right, right.
Yeah. So this reference table is not comprehensive. There are a lot of examples of potential repairs. A lot of these measures can be very complicated. And so it's not comprehensive. We tried to be as comprehensive as possible, but we always know that there's more out there. If you find that there's a repair that you were asked about or you come across that is not referenced in this table, it could still qualify. So we really encourage you to reach out to your ear to see if these would be eligible, if there's any question that you have. We will update the table as needed. And really do want to emphasize that there are just a handful of measures, income qualified measures, that don't allow for repair costs. So one example are thermostats. When you're considering paying for a repair, do reference the IM section to see if it is eligible. What did we include in this reference table? So we pulled from a number of different sources. One were past repairs that we've been asked about, that we've logged. We also clarified in here our new policy guidance on not allowing full roof replacements or extended manufacturer warranties. We added in some nuance about different types of repairs. And then I also included the examples that are currently in the IM, just to create a central reference point for eligible repairs. So how to navigate this particular reference. So we have an intro kind of clarifying some of our current policy laid out in the IM, including our repair cost policy. And the actual table itself, we have a list of examples or tasks. And then we clarify whether or not it's eligible as a repair cost or whether or not it's eligible as an install cost. So I wanted to clarify or call out one particular example. We get asked about roof replacements a lot. It is a critical update for a lot of these projects. However, it is also a very expensive update. So this last year, we had a lot of conversations and have determined, of course, that we are not allowing full roof replacements or tear-offs to be included within your income qualified measure costs for reimbursement. And so we clarified that here. So full roof replacements or tear-offs, not allowed as a repair cost, not allowed as a measure cost. However, discussing more the nuance about EPDM roofs, which is mostly on manufactured homes, clarifying in here that for the EPDM rubber roof cover, that is an allowed repair cost if you were just replacing the rubber after insulating the roof. If you're not replacing the entire system, just that membrane, that is totally fine. So that can be considered an install cost. That can also be considered a repair cost. So again, calling out if you can't find a related cost, task, or whether or not that project is eligible as a repair cost, please reach out to your ER and provide as many relevant details about that installation as you have. That can really help kind of guide the conversation that we have internally to determine, what if this is a eligible cost that we can cover. So loud and clear, we are open to feedback. These are brand new resources. We do not want to make it more complicated. We are trying to make it a little bit more transparent about how these fields are treated. So we definitely do not want to muddy the waters. If it's unclear, if these are not helpful, if they need more information, please let your ear know and we will work to improve them. These are not set in stone. So please don't be shy about letting us know how they can be more helpful for you. Yes.
I just wanted to say one additional item on that. As we've mentioned before a few times, there will be some additional guidance coming out later for changes that will be made in April. As Dave mentioned in his presentation, some of the things we know what we're going to do, some of the things we're still trying to figure out. This is absolutely serendipitous that we're making this change now, but this change between now, October 1st and April 1st, really does give us a time to learn some things. So if you do start collecting documentation for costs on your projects, I would encourage you all to familiarize yourself with things like, are the invoices we're getting easily separated in terms of installation or materials, or is that something that we may need to address? Questions like if there isn't enough information in the wildcard uh, cell for me to put down all of the nuance to what I input, what might be, how much more room would I need? Things like this. We're really trying to learn and take as much value from this ask of you that we are making.
Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you spending your morning with us and talking about cost data.